Hello, everybody in TGG Network land. I'll be your host tonight. We're doing the four of us now. We've got William. We've got Dwight.
Yo.
All right. We've got Jonathan. And our guest for today is a new Gaming Goat owner as of 2022. His name is Kiefer, coming in from Texas.
What up?
Here we are.
Hey, everybody.
Wow, it's a party.
All right. So today we're going to be talking about crybullying on the internet, censorship of film, TV, books. As always, right? We're going to be introducing Kiefer and getting a word from him about his experience as a brand new Gaming Goat store retail owner. So let's talk, guys. What's the news that's on our minds this week as far as what we've seen in social media, all of our groups, everything we attend.
Gosh, well, it's been 2 weeks, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks since we've been on. Dwight, you survived all the hurricane mess, right?
I did. I lost a lawn chair. Well, the lawn chair fell over. I picked it back up.
That's the worst.
We will rebuild. We will rebuild.
We will come back better. We'll build back better. You said we talk about this all the time, but it's low-hanging fruit. There was that post about guys do better, be better.
Right.
No. What
be butter, be butter.
No,
it was. I wasn't better, but you should be better.
I wasn't better. It's oh god, from the board game design
lab,
board game design lab,
yes.
Which is usually pretty cool and not really heavy in the virtue signaling, because it's usually pretty focused on the actual works and people marketing themselves, which that's great, right? Marketing.
Is this the post that was talking about? I did so many reviews for my game, and then I realized they were all white men. So that means that white men really love my game. And everyone in the comment section was like, who cares?
Perish the thought.
Well, initially, I was the first person to reply to that. It was like, just make a better game. Just make a good game. Nobody cares.
Yeah, just make a good game. And everyone's overwhelmed.
It was completely overwhelmed by virtue signaling dipshits.
Well, it's like, if at a certain extent, I can understand why that might be relevant. Like if you were making a game touching on a really touchy subject, I can see why you might want someone of that demographic to review it. But even still, not a requirement.
So the cultural consulting, right? That we're seeing when something gets into any sort of culture.
Not necessarily consulting, but I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head, but I don't know. For example, this War of Mine, the board game. If I found someone that was from Sarajevo, for example, hearing their thoughts on it, I would like to hear that, as opposed to someone else.
Somebody in Martha's Vineyard.
Yes.
Right.
Well, actually, from what I understand, Martha's Vineyard is a terrible place.
And, it's a war zone. Have you seen?
Yeah, I mean, DeSantis sent all those people over there. So, I mean,
still
third world country, I assume.
I cleared that up really quick.
Yeah.
Well,
they had
what
to call
I find
the
really
National
offensive.
Guard.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. There was a comment in there where somebody was like, "Well, what's so bad about inclusivity, making a game more inclusive?" And I was like, games by default are inclusive. Like, unless the rule book states, if you're Chinese, you can't play, it's inclusive. You don't have to have, and the fact that you, not us here in the panel, but this person, the fact that this person is like, I don't see a particular skin tone, therefore it's exclusive. It's not inclusive of that skin tone. It's like, no, you're just a racist. Because you're the one that's divisive. You're the one that's pushing the divisiveness. Nobody else cares.
Well, are we going to be excluding reviewers because they're white? It's like, sorry, we've got our white quota. No more. I know you wanted to review the game, but these are black copies. Is that what we're doing now?
Reserved.
No, but there it is, and therein is
I have
racism.
My reservations.
Therein is the racism. You can't do this because you're not, let's just say you're not black, so you can't review it. Well, you're a racist then. If you're going to exclude people based on their race, you're a racist.
Because if anyone wants to review my game, I just got a copy for reviewers. I send you a copy. I don't have a limited number, and so I don't have to have these quotas.
It's a
if you're black, review
non-issue.
it. If you're white, review it.
It's a non-issue. Somebody made a catty comment on one of their posts. That's all. It wasn't it wasn't a person from a marginalized group or anything. It was just some, wokey, like, oh, look at all the white guys. And then you post this post. And what I find really kind of offensive is like, who says that you can't enjoy a game if the player doesn't look exactly like you? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? As a white guy, can I not play a black guy and enjoy the game? I don't understand.
That would be the most common early segregation you would find in this hobby.
Who made Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson a superstar? Rednecks.
White. I was going to say white people.
Sure.
White people.
I was going to say his father.
He's
I
like
think
the
he was
highest
earlier.
paid actor in Hollywood. He's like the highest paid actor in Hollywood. And he's like, Maori dude made popular by, the people that we're told are like the terrible.
Made popular by non-Filipinos.
Made popular by, rednecks. Just saying.
Yeah, Eddie. Yeah, you are coming in clear.
Okay.
Yeah. When I first released High Noon, or started releasing like the publicity for the Kickstarter launch, and people were checking out the posses, the different characters, and they're like, "Oh, there's such a lack of there's a lack of representation. There needs to be more representation." And they wanted me to change. The starter set to include a posse that's called the Bandero Blondes, which are a group of women, because they wanted women representation in the game. And I was like,
did they buy them?
What?
Did they buy them?
Did they buy it? Exactly. No. but
no.
You need to make this product. I'm not going to buy it, but you have to make it.
So I deliberately made every posse in the game somewhat of a villain. So that way it's like there's no representation here, guys. Like, unless you're
there's none you want.
Yeah, exactly.
But Dwight, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't they also complain about the Native Americans in your game?
Oh, look at you.
I mean, he just went with Indians. He went with experience.
Yeah, they did. They didn't like the fact that
there's not enough representation. Add representation. Not that kind.
Not that kind of representation. And what's funny was they were like, this is such an offensive stereotype of the Native Americans. I was like, no, my Indians they're Indians, okay? They're Indians, and they look badass. They look badass. This half-naked Indian with 2 hatchets. Oh, so he's savage? Yeah, he's brutal. He is savage. He's a
I'm
badass.
gonna name so many helicopters.
So are those white guys too, though, with pistols.
Exactly. Yeah. The character that is my avatar here is Colonel Rogers, and he has a card in his deck called Taming Savages, and it's basically a card that does insane damage to Native America, to the Indians. If there's an Indian posse on the table and he attacks them, it's like crazy. But the subtext is that Colonel Rogers is the savage, like he's the actual savage in the game. So. It takes like a little, like just a pause and a little bit higher of an IQ to just look at this game, higher than like a toilet seat, to look at the game and realize that if you think it's racist, you're an idiot.
So it's Taming Savages.
That's right.
It sounds like the sneering imperialist perk from Fallout does the same thing.
I want to know if anyone else had this criticism levied at them, because I've heard it at me, where there'll be this thing that's misconstrued in some way, just like that, like what you mentioned there. And, they'll confront me on it. I said, no, that's not what I was trying to say. I was trying to say this other thing. And they say, yes, but you need to take responsibility for all of the people who are going to misunderstand it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't own them at all. I want to distance myself from those losers as much as possible. I don't even want to speak to them,
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do I have to over clarify things that I feel have already been said adequately?
So
Anyone
this
else
takes
getting
me
that?
back to the notion I've been trying to discuss a lot more with everybody on every interaction online, which is more people need to be dismissed in an era where everyone's their own superhero, their own champion, narcissists, whatever. You see BGG. We've talked about this before too, where the worst thing that can happen is that people are dismissed and comments can be dismissive, and therefore you get erased and lose your entire profile in BGG. Right? We're talking Board Game Geek, not the board game group.
Ironically, that's what
they're the
dismissing is.
same.
Yeah. So it's extremely important that you don't actually over clarify or even address these people.
Yeah. I mean, so everyone else aside from me has a lot more experience with the design space. I am a wannabe designer myself. But
We all
I
signed there.
mean, but I mean, I've gotten to the point that I don't even post on those design labs or whatever Facebook groups, because one of two things will happen. The most common thing is I will type this very specific question. Hey, do you think I should use blue for this background or should I use pink? And someone's like, well, actually, I think you should use a different character entirely. And I'm like, that's not what I asked.
That's
They talk about stuff that wasn't ever I'm working on a game right now, and I asked a very specific question, and I said, hey, I need this and I need this. And someone's like, well, here's this. And I'm like, well, I need both. I don't need one or the other. I need both of them simultaneously. And answers I'll get will be not remotely relevant, and or people just won't read. I've gotten to the point that every time I write a rule book, I type a section at the very beginning, bold, italics, underline, highlighted, that says, please read before continuing. And then it'll say something like, right now, I just want this kind of feedback.
Oh,
People will
no.
still skip that
Oh, yeah.
section. And then there was this one guy that I was like, hey, thank you for being willing to read my rule book. This is what I'm looking for. I just want to know, do you think this sounds like fun? I don't need corrections in punctuation or jargon, whatever. I don't need that.
Needs more graphics here. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was the responses that I got. And I'm sitting here going, and I said, thank you, but that's not what I'm looking for. And then he just blew up at me and said, why did you waste my time? And then
Yes.
just
Oh, sorry. Yes.
like if you're going to be in this space, like you need to, be willing to listen to what is being asked of you. I mean, and as I started my little design journey, a lot of the comments that I've seen over time, like, how do you do playtesting, stuff like that, and people are like, just listen to the playtesters. After so many of that, I'm like, no, sometimes playtesters are stupid and they have stupid ideas. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to say, no, you're stupid. But I mean, I'll say, oh, wow, thank you. And then cross that off.
All right.
But
you got to make the game that you want to make, man, not the game that everyone else wants you to make.
Right.
Yep. Impress yourself first.
So, Kiefer, are you willing to talk a little bit about your game project? I had forgotten that you were attempting to write up a game.
Yeah. So now that I'm, here in the store and busy, I haven't had as much of a time to work on it. But a couple of months back, Pandasaurus released a skateboarding game. And I was like, wow, that's cool. And I looked it up and was immediately disappointed. It wasn't what I was hoping it was going to be.
It's like skating around the city or something, right?
I know the one.
Isn't it?
I know it.
Pretty much a pick up and deliver game or something like that. Go here, get this thing. I was like,
Fetch quest.
So the game I'm working on is a deck builder and a board game simultaneously. Not just a deck builder, not just a board game. More akin to Clank or Dune Imperium. But in this game, you would have a series of tricks, whether they are ground-based or aerial-based or somewhere in between. and they would have icons on the right and left, sorry. And the idea is you would play cards from your hand to pull off one continuous trick. But to do so, you have to match the symbols with each subsequent card played. Meanwhile, you're actually moving around the board. So if you wanted to grind on a rail or something, you would, of course, have to be near a rail. You can't just grind on, I don't know, grandma's noggin.
So round by round, you're setting yourself up for the next trick, right?
Right.
Oh, that's
Very
cool.
Yeah. And you're going to get into the technical aspects of skateboarding as well as the mechanical components of a deck and trucks and everything else, right? So we got this wordplay with, you know, building a deck.
It's a deck builder.
Yeah.
I get it. Skateboard deck.
Yep.
It's a deck building board game that you use with your board.
So I do love me some Dune Imperium. It's one of my favorite games of all time.
It's a good one.
Kiefer, you're on here because you know, we're talking about Rise Against the Crybullies, and Eddie told me he had a very interesting to me. He had a pretty interesting story about how you became a Gaming Goat store owner.
Well, you see, Dwight, it all started with a dream and a frog.
Like everyone here, I think.
So basically what had happened was I used to live further down South Texas, and I was a regular at the Gaming Goat in my city. And I moved here, worked for the college that's here in Lubbock for about a year. And I heard about this frog thing. And, you know, I started looking into
Froggate.
it, and
Froggate.
I'm looking into it, and I'm just, cringing myself into a coma just about. None of this has ever made sense to me. So this was, of course, a joke on 4chan, and the whole point of it being, hey, I bet you these people will get their panties in such a twist that even the stupidest gesture can be funny, can be offensive to them. And then they were proven right, unfortunately. But for me, the problem was always that for this to, even if we accepted this as a symbol of white supremacy, frogs don't have 5 fingers. So at best, you've got VP, which could stand for victory points, or
I like that. That's a good one.
Or I don't know what we can say on here, so I'll just say women power.
I was going to say, yeah.
But so after all of this was going down, and I'm just sitting here watching every single board game group go up in flames over it, I lo and behold, I got in contact with Jeff, and I just sent him a DM on Facebook, and I was like, dude, I'm so sorry this is happening to you. This is so stupid. I'm sitting here just completely at a loss how stupid people can be. And we started talking, and a year later, I'm here.
Right on.
So
Okay, man, we're glad to have you.
I like to tell everyone I got this because of a stupid frog.
Well, it just goes to show you, like, it's not necessarily the Streisand effect, or like, be careful what you wish for, but like, these people, it's blowing up in their face. These Crybullies, they put this pressure on because they're trying to get rid of, you know, they're trying to cancel, or they're trying to punish. But it's like the Gaming Goat is literally Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, you could strike me down and I'll rise up more powerful than ever. It's like they went to shut him down, and he ended up getting a new store out of it.
Or Mike
So,
Myers.
Whoops.
Yeah.
per your example, I mean, we got hundreds of messages like that. It wasn't just Jeff. It was myself. It was other people in the organization that weren't even like related to the publishing side or the Frog, the design, anything, honestly.
Mhm.
And we got tons of these. But the problem was we were sitting in the year 2020 when everyone's, Sandy V's were at the height. And everyone's worried and afraid of everything, including cancel culture, which was the only social interactions anyone was really having at that point, was internet relationships. And like nobody was willing to say any of this publicly. We were talking about the boards we were discussing on Game Lab earlier. At least you had contradictory opinions. There was a time in 2020 where nobody said anything that might get them shut down, because the worst thing that could happen to you is that you lost a relationship to a Facebook group.
Mhm. A Facebook group that doesn't answer your questions.
No.
Yeah, there's Facebook groups. I'm not allowed to advertise there. Which I want to give you my money and just put up this banner. Oh no, not if it's Ladies' Choice. No. Another game, yes, but not that game.
Which it seems so counterintuitive. It's called Ladies' Choice. It's like the most fempowerment game title ever.
Yeah, but it's got dog kicking.
Yeah.
That's true.
There have been, it's happened a couple of times where people just memorize the Anita Sarkeesian, subject-object distinction. And they just said, oh, no, it's offensive because in this one, ladies are the object and gentlemen are the subject. And they'd memorized that. I knew that because in my game, gentlemen are the object and ladies are the subject. If you actually listened to
the title,
well, no, if you actually listen to the difference between object and subject, they're just assuming, well, she's female, so she has to be the object. And he's male, so he has to be the subject, without actually learning what those words mean. I mean, gentleman's choice, that's correct. But ladies' choice, no. The men are objects. You get to be the subject when you are the lady.
Yeah, it's called Ladies' Choice, not lady is forced to be a housewife.
Ladies' arranged marriage.
Yeah. The lady actually, in fact, it's historically inaccurate as all hell because she gets to choose.
Yeah,
that's accurate.
You know what? You should make a ladies' arranged marriage where it's actually the parents that have to choose.
Oh, that would be a good
set up the connection. Like what sort of benefits to your country? You know what I just watched yesterday was Coming to America 2. Now I know this is a weird segue, but like, holy shit, it was fucking funny, guys. I mean, if you grew up watching that movie, the original in the 70s,
80s,
shit was hilarious, right? 80s, yeah, in the 80s. Shit, I was alive in the 70s.
Coming to America? You mean Eddie Murphy?
Yeah. They did a second one that just came out like a couple months ago, and it was on. I was watching last night.
Coming to America 2 came out a couple years ago.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
You got me. So anyway, shit was hysterical, and it was about, the arranged marriage and what it was going to do for that country, whatever the fucking fake country they had in it. But you could do something like that in your game.
My game, only the art style is set in 1890. It's modern day. 1890 was absolutely nothing like the game.
Really? So unlike Dwight, you don't have the automatic defense of its contemporary to say these are Indians?
Oh, well, the thing is, the people who object haven't figured that out. But, once you've played it, this is a modern day game. Everything here is modern day. For example, the automobile isn't worth much points, but the butler is. Now, back in 1890, automobiles, that's like having your private jet today. That was like having your own private jet. But the automobile's worth like nothing. And butler was a very common profession. Anyone who's anyone had a butler. And so, the point values are scaled to modern day values. They are not by them at all. There's no reference to titles. There's no reference to estates. There's none of that. It's modern day in funny clothes.
Sure. So we were talking a little bit about the people crybullying against certain topics in board games. And I know we were talking about the design lab and the conversation we were having earlier this week. That reminded me of, do you remember when the Goonies game came out and people were losing their minds over the fact that it had only the boy characters? Because it was like the four characters you start off in the beginning of the movie with. And all of this comes across for all this hoopla for the next like week or two, and then the company, I forget who it was. I actually had it up a second ago. It was Prospero Hall.
Funko.
They're like, oh, guess what? We already have the sequel made, and it's here. Here's all the components. Here's the girls. They come in later in the movie, and they come in later in the game with an expansion.
Well,
I would play the hell out of Martha Plimpton.
Well, that was the thing, is that the Goonies really was about the kids. It wasn't like the girls were like tag-alongs, and like they only really had like only the one girl had any like real moment of shine in getting through, you know, One-Eyed Willie's traps, because she played the piano, or the bone piano thing.
Right.
But outside of that, I think the other girl might have given one of them like a word of encouragement at some point, but they weren't the protagonists. They were supporting characters.
I can't believe you made a Stand By Me board game and I can't play as the dead body.
The dead guy.
This is like John's reference to the pedestrians.
Yeah.
What are the pedestrians doing though?
You know, it's this obsession with I need a thing to look like me in order to have a good time is what's ruined. Like just
it's not even just that, it's on behalf of others. All the white knighting around something that it isn't even that you identify with.
They're shields. They become shields for the virtue signalers to use, to put in front of them. But
blackface is what it is. It's exploitative.
This kind of well, there are people who are like, well, I don't know if there are, but like this obsession with looking like or having the same thing or whatever. I can't play a fantasy game where I'm another character unless that character is exactly like me. It's like you miss the whole point. Like when Dungeons and Dragons or these role playing games they're now making characters in wheelchairs, and they have like magical wheelchairs. And now all the dungeons have like magical wheelchair accessible ramps. It's like the most.
Yeah.
It's
this dungeon now ADA compliant.
It's the dumbest thing in the world. Like it's. I get it. It sucks that you're stuck in a wheelchair, but that's the whole point of playing Dungeons and Dragons. You get to be like this acrobatic barbarian who can do somersaults at 6 feet in the air and cleaver an orc in the face when you land a perfect, you know, split with your amazing legs that work. Like that's the whole point of playing an escapism game, is that you escape what you are and the limitations of you.
Dude,
but these people want to inject those limitations.
The gripe is irrelevant.
I will say that
the gripe is irrelevant.
I will say that
Sorry, go ahead.
Will you go, and then Kiefer, you go.
Okay. The gripe is irrelevant. You've seen like 100 times, like people like I hypocrite, whatever, puts up the, like, they take this position on this day, and like the next day they take the opposite position, right? The position, the gripe is irrelevant. The point is that they have an issue that draws attention to themselves, and they can use to be like aggressive and shitty toward other people, right? If the situation was reversed, they'd take the opposite position.
Right. It's like Kiefer's very helpful game design people that want to say that he wasted their time when they created the new comment.
Yeah.
They're like there used to be back in the day, John Chambers likes to pile us all into his crappy little DeLorean and take us back in time to his analogies. But it's like back in the day when like we're a fucking time traveling clown car. But like back in the day, they used to have professional mourners who, like, if somebody died, the people didn't even know who they were. They would show up and be paid to like mourn. These are like professional bitch moaners. Like this is all they do. They collect their credit by bitching.
It's power. It's about power, right?
Well,
they're not very
we
smart.
concede,
They're not very good looking. They're not talented. All they've got is these gripes.
Not very good looking. They're not good looking at all. Most of these people.
That's
are
not
ugly.
a coincidence. These people have nothing going for them. Absolutely nothing. And they're kind of shitty in their personal lives, right? So, they have this thing it's their only path to power, and people let them have it.
John, I know you're biting at the bit to say something, but
Yeah.
Kiefer, did you have a point you wanted to make, Kiefer?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I was just going to point out, like, that while what we're saying is happening at the same time, they're creating things with themselves in it. And it could be an absolute, but just because it has X group represented here, you've created a bulletproof anything where if anyone comes back at you and says, well, this is a crappy design, they can just say, well, it's because you're
Oh, yeah.
racist
The
or
accusations
this
come flying in.
or blah.
Yep.
I just had this issue with I don't know if any of you have ever
Mermaid.
played any of the Monkey Island series of video games.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, all of them. Yes.
They just released a new one after 30 years of since the first one, and I just played it, and
Wow.
I was by the end of it, I was pissed. It was terrible, and
Oh no.
yet every time I looked at every single review online, it was a glowing review. And it wasn't a matter of whatever, but the Ron Gilbert, the creator of the series, he apparently had to shut down his blog because people kept harassing him about the art style. And then I wrote my review, and then a lot of people were commenting and saying that's not what happened. There were like 3 people. But you come up with a criticism about something, and it's targeted harassment, and it's because of this person's
Whatever.
immutable characteristic.
Mm.
What were you going to say, John?
Okay, well, let's go back to your wheelchair example, and let's just say, okay, maybe it's a great idea. Maybe we should have these wheelchair accessible dungeons so that people in the wheelchairs can play them. Now, everyone who's actively saying, yes, this is a good idea, I do support it, I do back it, they actually have to buy a copy. If you're not going to buy a copy, shut up. Shut up.
That's not going to happen.
Just shut up.
I don't mind. I don't mind.
Buy
there
the copy.
being-
Buy lots
We
of
bottled
copies.
John too long. He's letting it all out now.
I don't mind that this stuff is there. That's fine. But getting like this righteous anger, this self-righteous anger and vitriol, and the whole be butter. All right, be butter. You don't have this. You need to be butter. It's like, I don't want to be butter. Like, I want to make my own game. You be butter.
And the most galling thing about that is he was doing it to advertise, right?
Oh, that guy that made the post.
Yes, it was an advertisement for his game. Like, you're exploiting the issue to like drive sales of your thing. That's not cool. You know.
Hey, look how woke I am, guys.
Yeah.
My game isn't, but I am.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow, I made a mistake, and now I'm trying to do better.
Can you buy my game that's
thing is-
worse? This game's worse, but I'm better.
Yeah.
My thing with all of this is like I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with being quote unquote woke. It's kind of like what you do with it.
How far you
Like
take
you can have how far you take it. Like if you just believe that, you know, X, you believe this thing, fine. But if you believe X so much that you're willing to go out of your way to absolutely destroy someone, that's where
Right.
that becomes unacceptable.
See, we tend to talk about this a lot in a much
we do.
more removed extreme from actually trying to destroy people, in that people are not willing to let others talk about the subjects that they hold sacred anymore.
Mm.
So we've got a lot of taboo around these discussions. I know you said something about the immutable descriptor or identity factor, and people are just unwilling to let you discuss the fact that there is problems that arise. I mean, if we sat here and pretended that people weren't getting beaten up for being trans, then we're not really even trying to help them with the problem that they're trying to describe, by saying that there are people who actually might want to do that. And by describing the issue of you walking into the bathroom and a guy getting pissed off that his daughter's in there, probably worth talking about, man. So you can't talk, if you can't talk about the issues, you're never going to be able to solve them, even for the people who pretend they want them to be solved.
Well,
just
Yeah,
being
and I'm a freedom of speech absolutist, and I mean it's not one of those things. While I may lean more right than other people, I mean I'm from Texas, for God's sake, but at the same time, it has to go both ways. It can't be. And I've caught some of my conservative friends, saying, "Well, I don't think that should be allowed." Well, dude,
Right.
you're not for freedom of speech, bud.
Right.
It has to go both ways. It's what you do with that speech that defines good or bad in this case. I mean, relatively.
Sure.
Yeah, I never understood. Like, I understood the conservative backlash to, well, the big thing that I can think of that conservatives like lost their minds about was like, it's like almost as old as Chernobyl. It was, what was it? I forget who it was, like Janet Jackson or somebody was at a Super Bowl and she had that wardrobe malfunction. And like her tit fell out, right? And I don't know
It
if
didn't
it was
fall out. The dude pulled it out.
Okay, see, that was the thing. That's why I wasn't sure. But that's what I was gonna say. I don't know what happened. Okay, so he pulled it
That
out.
was
Now,
like
was
Justin
that
Timberlake or something.
Justin Timberlake, yep.
He brought sexy
top
back.
open.
now was it now was that planned? Was the whole
Yes, of
thing
course it was.
orchestrated? Did she know he was gonna do that?
Yes.
Okay,
Just as
then
planned as Will Smith punching Chris Rock in the face.
all right. So pulling some
support
chicks,
that.
Completely planned.
pulling some chicks tit out. I'm not even a Me Too guy, but doing that, should especially in public, should be frowned upon in my opinion. And if you're gonna have it, if you're gonna have a show that children watch, like children watch the Super Bowl, it's a family event. So I'm sorry, but no, that's a big fat no for me. And it's not even that I'm conservative. It's you got like there are kids watching, man. Like, no. So I can understand that, but even if I were to take the position that was conservatives just losing their minds and it's unacceptable and whatever, they're being stupid. That was like 20 freaking years ago. Meanwhile, the left is and this is going off base of the industry, but like the big thing right now is like these drag queen story hours at libraries for kids, and the conservatives are like no, we don't want that, and the left is like, oh, you're not for free speech, for freedom of expression. It's like, no, dude, you're a grown ass man. You're wearing pantyhose and you're spreading them for little kids. Like, get the hell out. Like, that's not the same as being against free speech. There was it's more specifically, there were books that they wanted to ban. They were saying they wanted to ban from a school library. But as I understood it, when I went and looked at it, because I was like, well, that's stupid. Like, you shouldn't be against books in a library. That's kind of where books belong. I don't care what they are. You can have Mein Kampf in there for all I care. Like it's a library. Put it there. But that's not what the case was. What it was specifically a little children area, and was specifically an adult centric content. And in that way, I was like, okay, I can see how like maybe isolate this to like an age restriction. Like, I'm not against age restricting things. We age restrict movies. Nobody loses their shit about that. And that was all. And that was I'm sorry for going off and off, but like I'll stop here. But like that was a conservative thing. The rating system is a total sham. If we're gonna be mad about something, if the woke are gonna be upset about something about censorship, the very first people they should go after is the ratings organization, because the Cinematic Ratings Organization is a freaking racket. And there was a whole documentary about it called, I think it was called "This Film Is Not Yet Rated," and it was showing how this racket was basically using the rating system to censor movies from the audience that they didn't agree with, that they didn't like. But nobody cares about that. Nobody cries about that kind of censorship. I don't know where I was going with this.
Well, I mean, if you're going to suggest, yeah, what's up?
Can I just say, for all their faults, right? The lefties, the Democrats, they're very, very good at framing the narrative, right? They're good at framing the narrative in a way that is advantageous to them and disadvantageous to everybody else, right? Where they can always cast you as a bigot, like the drag queen story hour thing. Like they created that construct, right? And then they goaded you into reacting against it. because they believe that's to their advantage. You follow me?
Right. It's inflammatory no matter what.
Yeah.
Right. They created the situation, right? People on our side do not create situations. We do not frame narratives. We are always reacting. We're always on the back foot. Right?
Yeah, we just want to make games. We just want to make games
we need
like.
to do better, right? We need to create our own
butter.
framing. We need to create our own, something that casts them in a negative light, which I think is more accurate to reality.
Yeah, but if you do that, then you get banned from Kickstarter and GameFound.
Yes, that is what happens. But all I didn't say anything. I didn't make any commentary. I just reframed it, take away their issues. Like, just look how these people are.
John, did you have any issues like getting your game made or out into the public? Like,
one issue I had, and I do think that I can't prove it, but I do think that it was relevant to people being upset with it, is I had a cash prize competition. And suddenly everyone was aware of cash prize competition international law and how I was in breach of it. And because I'm in Australia and giving cash to people in other countries, that's not allowed. And so I was forced to keep the cash from the person who won. I said, look, I'm sorry. Kickstarter made me keep this money. So that stays in my pocket.
Oh my God.
Who are these people?
I was going to pay you
that
out
much
you
effort
didn't win.
to ruin your thing.
Yeah, because it started, so much so, because it started on Board Game Arena. I coded the game. Big mistake. Don't put your game on Board Game Arena. But I did. And it's still there. And it took me months to develop it. But you can go there, you can play it. And I just sent emails saying, yeah, by the way, there's going to be cash prize. Hope that's okay with that. And no response. So I figure it must be fine. And then suddenly everyone's aware of all of these international laws that I'm in violation of for having a competition with a cash prize. And so they just said, look, we can't associate with this. We cannot tell anyone that there is a cash prize. You can tell people that there's a cash prize, but our hands are clean. We have nothing to do with it. I'm like, okay, fine. I'll tell people there's a cash prize. And then now Kickstarter's saying, hey, you said there's a cash prize. That's in breach of international law, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, so I can't say it on Kickstarter either. And so I said, hold on, Kickstarter, you want me to retract that? Because I'll just copy the email and say, yeah, well, Kickstarter told me to retract the prize. I said, okay, yeah, I'll do that. And so I did that.
Can you play them in fleece?
Yeah.
The equivalent amount of wool. Would that work?
So, yeah.
Well, see, that's your first mistake. Don't you know that everyone on the internet is a legal expert? Every single person.
When it's required.
And medical expert too.
When it's required.
And medical.
But yeah, I got so much. Oh, and I think the worst is because, like, okay, here is a game. You can tell it's been polished. It's been, there's no grammatical mistakes in the rule book, and the art is exquisite. And people say, you might not be aware of this, but an issue some people could have with your game, like, you think there's any aspect of my game I'm not aware of? How dare you? How dare you?
I'm just happening by, but did you?
I've heard all of the hate. I got the hate from the prototype.
But to what William was saying, I mean, you didn't make a game that framed a side anyway. You just made a fun game, it seems like. And even still, people found an excuse to try. I'm not saying try to cancel it because I haven't seen all of it, but I recall you spinning a real tale of woe the last time you were on.
Would you say it was just gendered language that got you in hot water at all?
The biggest is midget. I said midget, so that's ableist. I also had only one leg, hard of hearing. I had there were some other ones as well. Bald patch. Okay, so these are
bald patch.
Well,
Yeah.
What
Dude.
was the
Justice for
problem?
Will.
I'm not offended. I'm not offended.
What was the problem with hard of hearing?
Well, the thing
Ableism.
is, people are saying, well,
Ableism.
I was born with hard of hearing, and so now you are discouraging women from dating me because you're
Yes.
telling them that I'm worth less than an equivalent man that is not hard of hearing.
It probably wasn't you
Like
telling them
demonstrating
that.
that you
It was
are.
the ladies.
But you,
It's like-
but you are.
I knew
dude.
that before they played.
Yeah.
Before they played my game. They were aware of this before they played my game. No lady learned something new from that moment.
What
And
was
yeah.
your? Did you? Which was the side? Where did you see most of the backlash? Was it mostly men, mostly
Yeah.
women, or was it like even keel?
So I think
Or-
ableism made up at least half. At least it was usually people are saying, look, this, whatever the thing is, was a problem that predates my birth. And so because this issue predates my birth, I should not be held accountable for it. And I should not be made to suffer the consequences for it. And anything that encourages ladies to discriminate in that way, no, don't. That's wrong. There's also, so some people were saying that I'm instructing women to be shallow because these are all shallow issues that should not factor into the decision at all.
Apparently, you wrote the book on this.
So
But you're not.
Yeah.
But you're not instructing them to do it. Like it's literally their nature. It's literally
I'm
a card
reporting
game
what
of
they
their
have
nature.
done.
Exactly.
I'm reporting what they have done. I'm not telling them anything. But the other thing is there are some people who came to my defense that I didn't agree with either. There's some people saying, no, don't you see? This game is making fun of shallow women. Like, no, it's not doing that either.
You could see it that way.
I thought they wanted representation. I mean, I feel like this is just representing
These
the
shallow
experience of
women-
courtship.
Shallow women
crazy?
demand representation.
Yeah.
Shallow
They-
women deserve games too.
Well, these are
Yes.
preferences that women
Game
have,
for shallow women.
and they should be allowed to have those preferences.
Well, we like
I mean,
to
they're gonna
buy,
be
sell,
stuck
and
with
make
that
normie
man.
games.
they're going to be stuck with that man for 50 years. They might as well have someone that's at least
Oh,
early
come on,
to
in
look at for the
2022?
first couple of decades. Yeah, there's that. So yeah, there was backlash from that. There's backlash for having one rule for men and another rule for women because men and women should have the same rules.
Because
I'm
it's a
telling
clean
you,
I'm
slate.
telling
We're all
you.
the same.
Yeah, also suggesting that the dating world is asymmetric in any way because women have all the same struggles dating as men. Would anyone
I'll tell
like
you
to
what it
comment
is.
on that
I'll
one?
tell you what it is. It's not the specific, it's not the individual cards. Is that you've reminded them that dating is a competition and they can't stand that.
It
Yeah.
is. Oh, my
That-
game's there. Hello, my game.
That
Yeah.
actually, that's and that kind of cuts to the censorious nature of these people and why they're so easily offended. Whether it's a game that is framing them in a bad way or just pointing a mirror in their direction, and they're seeing the negative character traits about them. Like
Read
there's
the Unabomber Manifesto. That's what the whole Unabomber Manifesto is about.
Well, I didn't read that, but I do know.
Oh, you should.
But I mean, men and women aren't the same. I'll be the sexist misogynist here. Men on the panel, men and women are not the same. Men are
News.
far more competitive.
We lost you. Men and women are what? Say it again. We lost you.
More
Did you really?
competitive.
men,
No, we
men and women are not the same. Men are far more merit driven. It doesn't make them better. It doesn't mean they're better people, but it does mean that when you have a tribe of men and you have a tribe of women, the women will seek to kind of try to make things equal amongst themselves while simultaneously secretly hating each other. Whereas the men will also openly hate each other and then create a hierarchy based on strengths and weaknesses and merits. And when you don't have merits, the thing about merits is they're a pain in the ass to have. You have to actually earn them. And people don't want to earn things. And that's why you have people who are always offended, or they throw out the term ableist. Oh, you're pointing out a weakness. Yeah, because some people are weak. Well, but then we can't be equal. Yeah, because not everybody's equal, dipshit. Like everybody's different. Some people have strengths here and weaknesses there, and vice versa. But not everybody gets a trophy. And at the end of the day, somebody wins and somebody loses. That's
if I can equalize that analogy.
Yeah.
The men who are competing, what are they competing for?
The women.
Sex. Yeah.
Any dude who ever did anything in his life
VP,
other than get drunk and jerk off was for a woman. Okay, they are in charge.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. At the end of the day, we're competing for the women. So I'm sorry, ladies, if you're offended by that.
The stupid thing to me,
what,
I came across this realization not too long ago, but people will talk about how this means you're saying I'm weak. This means because I have a different set of abilities than you. Dude, point to any board game or D&D or whatever where you have every single skill that is possibly available. Everyone has positives, everyone has negatives. That's games in general.
It's all games,
and so
competition or not.
The irony does not hit these people that they're playing a game that has that same concept.
Yeah. Another thing that really upset people is that when you read the rules, the worse a catch you are, the more points you get if you get married in spite of being bad. And you are encouraged to not just hide your bad traits from your spouse, but you are also encouraged to get rid of your good traits because that gets you more points when you eventually marry them. Okay. And the thing is, people are saying, well, that's really offensive that you're telling men that they should be doing that. And I'm like, I'm not telling men that they should be doing that. It's just that every time I remove that from the game, the game stops being a game and it's an art piece. And so, in fact, I got the mechanism first. And I'm like, how can I justify this mechanism? And I'm like, okay, it kind of fits here. Let's just say, okay, the reason why, and you get more points because you get to be lazier. Because I was theming the mechanism. I went mechanism first. And I can't re-theme it because the mechanism stops making sense. And if I change the mechanism, there's no game.
You could in baseball, without the rule of walking, it would be a lot easier to beat the other team if the pitcher just threw balls in their face. Yeah, like they would just disable the rest of the team by throwing balls at them, and then it's because that makes sense. If there wasn't a rule that said if there wasn't a rule that said I couldn't do that or that they would walk, that's what I would do. I would just do that all 9 innings until the entire team is disabled. But there's a rule here that says now I can't do that. Okay.
I think it's interesting.
I'd watch that. I think you'd fill some stadiums with that.
The back of this box says,
"Oh, you have
Ladies' Choice is a light bluffing game about the ugly side of romance." That's literally on the back of the box. Like it's not like a, oh my gosh, this is a totally accurate representation of what real life is. And if you have like a weird nose like Owen Wilson, then wow. Screw you. It doesn't say anything like that. It's just
people like his nose.
Wow.
Wow.
But I mean, like it's a I don't know. It's a freaking game.
Well, so all of the ableist cards are actually the lowest point values. So it's kind of a trick in that if you're playing the game on the really high level, the ableist cards are red herrings. You ignore them. You need to watch out for the tempers. You need to watch out for the dog kicking. You need to watch out for the serious stuff.
That's the other part. People are offended by the dog kicking, but the dog kicking is a negative trait. Like the whole point is it's a negative trait.
But you get more points if you kick dogs and you're in a relationship.
Because it's a negative
trait. Therefore, people go home, kick their dogs, and think, "Oh, this marriage advice that I received from this card game should be working any moment now."
It's like video games cause violence. It's like the whole video games cause violence argument. It's like, oh, this is in the game, and therefore it'll become a real thing, or it's actually.
I played Cooking Mama once, and I became a chef.
Short skirts cause rape.
See, I told you that's how it works. Can we just all agree that ableism is a made up word in the first place? Like it doesn't exist.
It is. Most of their words are made up.
I just
Almost
don't.
all of
What
them,
I don't
actually.
understand is how this can be offensive and wrong, and this is still okay.
Oh yeah,
This-
yeah,
Cards Against the
Cards
Kardashians.
Against Humanity. Well, just Cards Against anything. Like
right. It's
people will sit there and talk about how, oh man, this is about shallow women, and then be like, this one has like Obama jerking off into a pool of children's tears.
I have the answer to that.
literally
I
the
don't
word.
agree with it, but I have the answer to that because I've been told it repeatedly by morons. What they say, because usually they say, "Oh, your game is too upsetting, too edgy, blah 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 blah," and it's like they know I'm going to say Cards Against Humanity. And so before I can say it, they say, "Oh, and Cards Against Humanity," in case you're going that way. Right. Cards
They
Against
preempt
Humanity,
it.
yeah, they preempt it. And they say Cards Against Humanity is okay because it appeals to people who like upsetting games. And so you have to upset those people thoroughly or they won't enjoy a game. But your game upsets people partially. So you're going to upset the people who want to be upset and upset the people who don't want to be upset.
That's
They
the
tell me that's what they say.
That's
I
a
have
gold
not yet
medal
had
in
someone say, I am not
mental
upset by this
People are
game
very
enough.
angry
I'm
at
not going
Cards
to
Against
buy it.
Humanity.
That there hasn't been a feedback I've received so far, but they say, oh yeah, Cards Against Humanity is only good because it's upsetting. Your game is not upsetting enough to sell to that demographic, but too upsetting to sell to any other demographic. And I say, okay, fine, I'll make the game more upsetting. And they say, no, don't do that. That's not my point.
gold medal in mental
I've
gymnastics.
had that conversation more than once.
Well, even Cards Against Humanity got woke, as I understand it.
Yes, they did. They burned that one trans card.
Did the people that make Cards Against Humanity, did they also make Secret Hitler?
No,
Or is that a different company entirely?
it's a different company.
Well, let's find out. Secret Hitler. Right?
That's another one.
Did you guys ever see the expansion for Secret Hitler? You can only get it on
Secret
their
Churchill?
website. No, it's Secret Hitler, but you replace all of the fascists with cabinet members of the Trump presidency, with Hitler being literally Donald Trump.
That's hilarious.
Secret
And then-
Trump, Secret Donald.
Hilarious.
And then on their
How secret could Trump actually be?
That's kind of funny. All right, not gonna lie, not the funniest. Heard other jokes, frankly, better jokes, funnier jokes, frankly, if I'm being honest. But it's kind of funny.
You know, I'm glad you don't have video today.
You just put up a Trump thing.
This is really convincing.
You should. I'm wearing a Trump outfit right now. As a matter of fact, I'm wearing a Trump outfit, and I have my Trumpy bear in my lap right now.
Do you have a long red tie that covers your crotch?
No, there's no tie that long.
You got a My
Oh,
Pillow.
okay.
Dude, I do have a My Pillow.
He would.
Oh my God, I'm sorry, Mike Lindell, former cokehead, but I got some My Pillows because I heard that they were legit comfortable. They're the worst. Those pillows are the worst pillows in the world. Oh my God.
My Pillow.
Oh,
No,
pillow.
this
Nobody's
is a
pillow.
This is a thanks anyway pillow. I'm gonna wrap it up and give it to somebody else.
See,
No,
this is
it's
like
like-
businesses should be criticized. Not which member of parliament did you vote for? No, it's like,
Right.
is your product good?
Actually good? Yeah. No. And no,
You give your,
it's not.
You give your My Pillow. You give your
That's
My
how we
Pillow
should
to a
judge
homeless
companies.
person.
Yes, I know. Yeah. Is
now
the game
do
fun?
your impression of Mike Lindell. This pillow's
haven't-
the worst pillow.
It's
He sounds
that
like Al
is a-
Gore.
that does sound like him. That also sounds like that dude from eHarmony or whatever. I help you find your soulmate with 97 compatible quiz things. I don't actually listen to Mike Lindell enough to talk like him. So I'm sorry.
He sounds like Al Gore on Quaaludes.
Well, if you slept on his pillows, you would too. Just gonna say. You would need Quaaludes to sleep if you slept.
I don't want a styrofoam pillow.
I just imagine you handing your pillow to like a homeless person, and they're like, "Hey, thanks, but can I have like a penny or something?" Literally anything would be better than this.
Yeah, that's actually true. It's kind of like I know. Well, never mind. Will doesn't want to talk about where he lives, but there's a joke in China.
I created a stigma around your location.
There's a joke about.
We can't
China
talk about where Will is, but there's a joke about China.
Yeah.
Smooth.
Oh, you saw what I did there. You saw what I did there.
Yeah, was that intentional? Keep going. What's the joke?
Oh no, it's
not a joke.
It's basically some beggar on the street is asking for money and some dude's like, okay, so
are you gonna go pee in my Coke?
How did you know? That literally happened while I was in China. But no, but then he's like, what, you don't have WeChat? It's because like everybody in China has WeChat. That's like
not me. I'm banned.
Oof. So yeah, don't buy my pillows. Sorry, Mike. But having said that, Secret Donald kind of sounds funny. But I've never played Secret Hitler.
Hitler doesn't really come into it. It's just like, somebody's. It's like, I don't know how to explain it. Never mind.
I mean, it's a well-known word that helped sell a game that is otherwise decent. It's a decent deception game, social deduction game. I've recently played a bunch more, and they are way better.
Yeah, the design is really nice too. That's why I got it. You need 5 people to play though, and that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and it's not really very good until you hit about 7. And it's still mostly just verbal accusation. I mean, I played the other day. We were playing Salem 1492 about the witch trials. That's a fantastic game that incorporates character roles and cards. Yeah, so the accusations are actually numerical.
I think I still prefer Deception.
The game Deception is at the Hong Kong, right?
Yeah, Hong Kong. From the country we're not allowed to talk about.
Yeah, right.
All right. So, gentlemen, how are we rising against the Crybullies? Eddie, go.
Oh, God. I mean, does this do it? Does this just talking in groups of presenting white people, does this do it?
They will not divide us. They will not divide us.
I mean, if rising up is as simple as what I said earlier, which is dismissing them, because that really gets in their craw, like that helps. And it's actually a lot of non-effort on our part. So the thing is we've got all these different, let's say, social media groups, Facebook groups. I don't do any of the Twitter shit, dude. I literally wouldn't even know what Twitter's interface looks like if you ask me. Reddit, same thing. So, I mean, staying off of that stuff really helps for a personal mindset, right? But at the same time, we're all trying to market things. Every single one of us in here has games we're making or have worked on or made.
True.
And if we're not allowed to interact with these social media pages, what are we doing, right? We can talk about crowdsourcing, how you can get into that, how you can market otherwise. I honestly think we just keep fighting, not really fire with fire, but like something really that doesn't make any sense, like fire with lightning, and just start opening up different groups like what we're doing right now. I was just toying with the idea the other day of, I know, Will, you have a Facebook group that has people that, we're making fun of stuff, we're doing memes and things like that, but I think it's time for an industry page that is more people of some of our mindset on some of the hot issues that we would like to just see as not even being issues at all. And just run that route and start. I mean, I don't know how you would get banned if everyone within your group is similarly.
Anytime a conservative group that is not hidden. Sorry, finish.
Go on,
I've got the name for it. I know what you should call it. You should call it the actually inclusive gaming group.
So that's cool. That's cool.
There are a couple of
literally talking about.
Yeah,
the one that we've all spent a lot of time on, 67,000 members, I think. I was just thinking we just call something the board game group, but better. And that's it.
And that's what's called the board game group, but better.
Dude,
but better.
When everyone gets better, it's just, okay, go
my group is. My group is 700 people, right? We are constantly getting punished. Constantly.
Yeah.
Okay. The site aggressively deranks us. If any quote unquote non-woke group ever got to a certain size, they would nuke it immediately. That's what always happens. All the meme
Right.
pages. Remember Biden's not my president, a day of the election, got up to like 1 million in a couple of days. Whack! Down comes the hammer. They just nuke it.
But
That
at the same
said-
time, you are possibly building, community groups. You're building networks, right? We've gotten them to like fracture. They fracture those groups, and then we get into smaller groups, and it continues that way.
Said, all their attention is focused on social media, and they completely ignore meat space. Right? You can
Sure.
do whatever you want in meat space, and they won't even see it because they're online all the time.
Well, see, this is a lot of the opportunity we lost over these past couple of years. I mentioned earlier, it's like we weren't getting into social, real life space, so they owned it. They owned the whole narrative because they owned the channels, the means, right? And now we can do things
Not
like
anymore.
actually set up meeting groups. You wanted to talk about something. Who brought it up earlier? We wanted to talk about a convention coming up, BGG Con,
Well,
right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Who wanted to talk about that?
Kiefer did.
What? No.
What's
no,
up?
no, it wasn't him.
What's up with
Who was that?
BGG Con?
I'm here 7 days a week. There's no reason for me to talk about it.
Although it is actually in your state.
Maybe other Will wanted to.
Yes, a more accurate descriptor. Would
Oh,
be
yes, it
in
was
my
other Will.
country.
It was other Will. Okay,
It was other Will.
we'll get him back on the
That's
show
his
next
name
time.
now.
But that's a good point. In these I'm banned from I'm getting banned from every convention because the person who's getting me banned knows that when my game is at conventions, like we blow it up. Like people have a great time, and we get along with everybody. Everybody loves playing our game there, and you can't beat social interaction. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why there was this huge push to keep everybody home. Not to get too deep into that stupid, crazy conspiracy theory, but like there's something about social media and onlineness and dividing everybody between computer screens that just takes the humanity. It takes the humanity out of us.
Yeah.
When you put a bunch of people in a room for the same purpose, whatever that is, like pick one interest that everybody has in common. You put them online, and they will find every reason to disagree with each other and fight each other. But you get them in a room, and all of a sudden they're friends. Everybody gets along. Because they're all there for that one thing. In the board game space, everybody's there to play a board game, and they'll sit at a table. All these people from all walks of life and all different.
And you find your
opinions.
similarities. You find your mutual interests. Yeah, you let go of your inhibitions. All of your political grandstanding goes out the window.
And that's why we own the space, because at the end of the day, we're human beings that just want to make cool games and have fun together.
I mean, there's also the fact that we talked earlier about, a lot of these people are the less attractive, the fatties, the uglies, the fuck it, the retardeds.
It's not an accident.
Yeah.
Final point, and then I'll stop talking. Dwight, tell me if this has been your experience. Having a reputation that kind of pre-screens out all the wokies, do you not find that the fandom that you have is exceptionally decent? Like they're really, really decent people, like better than the norm.
Yeah.
Honest, polite, right?
So I've got actually, what I'll say is the fandom's real. And the people that are the people who love the game, that are fans of the game, are the most like salt of the earth people. They're they're just good people, family people. They just, a lot of them have children that, they just want to play a game with their kids. The fans are that.
They seem to come from productive lives.
Then contrast
before they come to the table
with,
to play a game.
Like the wokey fandoms like Steven Universe or whatever board game things, like they're constantly fighting. It is the most toxic environment.
With one another, even if we're not involved, we can sit here and laugh at them from the sidelines.
No, when we're not there. They're just constantly cutting each other apart and stealing from each other. Right?
Yeah, my Facebook group is nothing but like Far Side comics. Like anything to do with like they just post Far Side West cowboy comics and they just talk about cowboy stuff. It's great. But you're right. But contrast that with the other side, and it's all infighting and outfighting. And what am I pissed off about today? What thing has gotten under my craw
And
because I live in a first world country and I have no real problems? Oh yeah, it's
They
stealing.
cheat each other constantly.
Yeah, that's it for me. That's all I got for that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're pretty good. We're at an hour and 10, guys. We've done a good show. Super glad to have everyone that we've been adding to the normal panel. John, Dwight, William, myself, and Kiefer. Thanks for coming on today. Thanks for talking about your experience owning the gaming goat. Yeah, I think so too. I think we can do more of this.
Well,
I'm down.
John, Kiefer, did you guys have any last thoughts?
I'll let John go first.
Well, okay, yeah. You asked how I'm going with against all of the battle. Let's just say that, including myself, there's 3 people who are actually absolutely critical to the success of the game, deserve full credit. However, I'm the only one of them that wants to be credited on the box. Okay, the other one realized too late and will not be credited on the next box by choice. And another person just said, look, I said, look, great job. I want to credit you. You didn't no, do not credit me. I had nothing to do with the success of your game.
That's sad.
That's a damn shame, dude.
Yeah. And so
Shame.
I really want to say, hey, great job. I had a rulebook editor who was stellar. Absolutely great rulebook editor. Paid the fee. Definitely worth it. Want to tell everyone, get your rules checked by this person. But I can't tell you who the person was. They don't want you to know. They think I could ruin their career if that came out.
What I do enjoy about this is that it's not a left or right issue. It's actually just a horrible person issue. And if there's any one thing I can do, even with this group of people right here, is to let our audience know that we do have very different backgrounds and understandings and political ideologies, and say that this is about the people who want to get together and do things and produce and give those referrals that all the people who made your game deserve. Everyone who's doing any amount of work should get all the attention, not the people who are doing literally nothing and just tearing everything down. They shouldn't get any attention. This is what I keep going back to on this dismissal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't tell you about my great art or my great rules that were great job, great value for money. I want you to work with these people. They deserve it. But I can't tell you their names. They don't want to be associated with the Lady's Choice.
They don't want to be associated with me.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Or me. Oh, no. My rulebook editor, he was before I said anything about you. He just finished reading the rules. I said, oh, yeah, I can put your name on the box. He says, oh, yeah, by the way, I noticed you've got a card here that says midget. Yes, I do have a card that says midget. If you've got a card that says midget, I don't want you to have a box with my name with the midget card in that box. Thank you. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
See, this is why we're putting together a bunch of people
that have no
shame.
What size of card is it? Is it a mini European style?
No, it's like tarot.
Damn, missed opportunity. I think, Dwight, your question to Eddie was, excuse me, what are you doing to fight against the, what was it, Crybullies?
Crybullies.
Neon Nazis.
I guess I'll close off by saying, I mean, I get all kinds of people in here. Even though I'm in Texas, I'm in red Texas specifically. I mean, it's a college town. There's lots of people that are right, are far left, are whatever. The thing is, I'm just decent to those people. It really shouldn't be that hard. Be decent to people. And if they're not decent to you, then screw them. But I'm going to continue to treat people decently. That's it.
In a testament to your hometown, your current hometown, when I was there for your grand opening for about 3 to 4 days, it seemed like it was a place set in the past about 10, 12 years. And it was really cool because, I mean, I saw people of all different walks like you just described. It is a college town. It's a magnet city, right? So you got people from all over. I was checking out the engineering. It's a newer engineered city. It was pretty cool from that perspective. But the people, everywhere I went, and I ran around doing Facebook Marketplace pickups, dude, to build your store. And I just got to meet all these really cool people who were very welcoming. But again, every single person, we saw hundreds of people that weekend together in your store alone. And it was just, everyone was like that 60-year-old man from 2008, that 14-year-old girl from 2008. Everyone just seemed like they were temporally displaced from back in the day. And it was really just kind of cool.
I mean, I mean, I don't really have a comparison because I've always lived in Texas. I mean, I guess I did live near Austin, so I do have some idea. But it's, while I say that I'm in red Texas, and I am, it's not something like it in back where I used to live in San Marcos. Every single political ideology or every political belief was just shoved down your throat. I mean, there were parades that went down my freaking block every single weekend touting some kind of thing. And I'm like, I'm just trying to get to work.
Right. So you found yourself inundated with protest and counter protest.
Yeah. And then I get here, and while it is conservative Texas, it's not like I could go up to anyone that I see in the supermarket and say, hey, I am a Democrat. And the people there would be like, okay, do you want this hamburger or not? They don't care. It doesn't factor in.
I think that's maybe what I was picking up on then, because it was like the identity politics just didn't exist for those people. And it was really kind of refreshing. It was a really nice workation for my wife and I to see people who just wanted to be where they were for the purpose they were there for, instead of trying to just everything badged. It's pretty bad,
everything,
man.
What?
Yeah. Badged, just everything badged on your body, on your personality.
I thought you said I thought you said everything VP.
Yeah. No. This is a classier show than that, okay?
Sure, yeah. All right,
Totally
on that
classic.
note, gentlemen, if you wouldn't mind hanging out and say our proper goodbyes. Eddie,
Sure.
you want to see us out?
Yeah. John, thanks for coming in.
Always good to be here.
Appreciate you. William,
Yes. Oh, bye.
good to see you again. Yeah. Kiefer, calling in from Texas. We're going to see this guy again a couple times, all right?
Sounds good.
Dwight, thanks for showing up. Just audio. It's cool. You managed to entertain us all with bringing Trump in for a few minutes. That was awesome.
He's been on the toilet this entire podcast.
I have. It's true. That is the reason why I'm not on camera. That is this. You got me. You got me. Oh, hey, there was one more thing that I wanted to share.